let's talk about the Bengals fights that they've been having in training camp. People are like, oh, it's chippy. It's chippy out there. And I think that's a healthy sign. It's funny. I put out a tweet, and maybe this is karma biting me in the ass, right? Because I put out a tweet and I say, hey, I don't really see the benefit of joint practices because the it always ends in fights, and then the next day the Bengals get into
L take.
Well, no, I don't think it was an L take though. I really don't. Let me tell you why though. I don't think it was an L take. It's because I feel like there's a lot of cookie cutter stuff happening. I feel like there's not a lot being accomplished. I know that on the surface we might think there is, but it feels like every single year that there is these joint practices, it always ends up in something. I understand it's us as the media, it's people in the media that are highlighting that and projecting, hey, this is what happens. And obviously I understand the whole communication aspect and all that stuff like that. Aaron Donald smacks one of the Bengals offensive linemen over their head with a helmet. Nothing happens to the guy is because he's great. Now, obviously, Giants and Lions get fined, obviously, for their fight scrum that happened, which when you look at it, it didn't seem as egregious as we may have seen some in the past. But I just think that for me, if I'm a coach, or you put me inside of a coach's shoes, I don't see the all benefit to practicing with another team.
Let me push back on that.
No, hold on. I'm gonna let you push back.
I'm gonna let you finish, but Logan's out here with the greatest hat of all time.
No, I am gonna let you finish, but I just think that's what preseason's for. I think that's what preseason's for. I think you do want to add some type of competitiveness to it, and I think that's why sometimes we see a lot of things that are cookie cutter and not as exciting, is because I think these guys don't care as much, honestly, and I don't think that practicing with another team is not going to break your Super Bowl hopes or what your team is trying to get accomplished throughout the year. That's just my thought process.
2 big points I want to make on that. Fights still happen.
Yeah.
Within the team.
Sure.
That is being competitive. That is being out there in 100-degree weather, dehydrated, all that, right? So just because you're with another team doesn't make that happen, right? And then there's, let's say 16 joint practices if you got all the teams matched up, right? A fight happens at one and we go, this happens all the time because it gets put on Twitter and everything else and it goes viral and then we go
talk about.
Yeah. So it's like, when you're like, oh, interceptions are happening all the time or pick sixes. And it's like, no, when you look at it, they're about the same, but it just feels like it, right? It's one of those things that because of how viral it goes, it feels like it happens more often than it does necessarily. And I think it would be false to say, hey, because one guy got hot-headed and swung at another guy, every other rep that was done in that practice is invaluable because you get to know the tendencies of the other guys on the team, right? You get to know the tells. Frank Pollock was talking to BJ Hill and was like, hey man, if you see any tells, sit on them for a week or two, don't blow anything because we need to have valuable reps. Sure. So that's another thing is you can see yourself matching up against different styles, different schemes. Like Logan talked about last week, you can say, hey, we want to pull the wide receivers and the cornerbacks from your team and work on goal line situations. And you can go against different guys who have different skill sets that you haven't been practicing against for 2-3 years. Right.
Yeah, I think the joint practices are it's a phenomenal idea, but I think within the NFL, it just needs to be regulated more. There needs to be these people are like Aaron Donald. There's no reason he shouldn't have got fined in trouble for swinging a helmet at somebody's head.
100%.
That's where the problem
thing Myles Garrett did.
Yeah, right? That's where the problem lies. It's just that it's treated completely different. If you're gonna have two teams going head to head against each other, it needs to be the punishments and everything needs to be treated the same as the games because it's the closest things you're getting to games. If they did this in the preseason game, they're all getting fined, they're all getting suspended, they're all doing anything. It needs to be more similar to game punishments for even worse actions you see in games.
Well, let me. I wasn't planning on debating today or even disagreeing in some aspects that I told Evan for the show, I'm probably going to take a step back, but I guess this is, I got to get my pen out because it's been a while. Let me just explain something a little further. I look at practices very much like your family, essentially. Like you're practicing with your family, right? You're working with your family. You know the intentions of the guy that's next to you. At the end of the day, Ted Karras and Logan Wilson, they're gonna make up. Like they're gonna be in a locker room. They're gonna see each other. They have to go back to the same locker room, dap each other up. Yo, we're good. All love, XYZ. I highly doubt that's carrying over to the next day. Maybe it does. Who knows? Yeah. But I don't think that is. I think the issue that I have with joint practices is you don't know the intentions of other people. Yeah. You got to realize these people are fighting for jobs. These people are fighting for opportunities to make said roster and do said things, right? So I think for me that's. And again, I'm not saying the NFL should come down and say cancel joint practices. I'm just saying if I was a coach and I'm looking at it from a competitive standpoint, I'm saying, hey, listen, I want to do as much as I possibly can to tilt the competitive advantage in our favor. Listen, I don't want to show you certain things that we might roll out in a preseason game, right? Because I want to try those things, because as much as we say we don't like the preseason does still have its benefit. The preseason does still have its benefit, because it may not have a benefit to a guy that's been in the league for 7 years, a guy that's been in the league for 3 years, but it has a benefit for the guy that's trying to make the roster, trying to fight for his family,
trying to put tape out there for other teams
for other
that might
teams.
pick them up. Yeah,
100%. So like these opportunities are priceless for them. All right, and I think that I understand why communication and all that's important. That's what you have the preseason for. That is what you're fighting for the preseason for. And I know we're trying to get to this 18 game schedule, and at some point they're probably going to take away another preseason game and go regulate down to 2, which I don't know if I agree with that. I hope they keep it at 3 at the very least. I just think that like I don't think practicing with another team is necessary. That's just my thought process.